Hello, this is XStarKillerX and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. Today we are going to be looking at the top 10 most powerful decks of all time. Number 10. Frogburn FTK. Now this deck focuses around rowing, toading and creating a loop using a Substitute in order to annihilate your opponent. So they are sets of simple stats that you go through using this deck in order to defeat your opponent. I'll go through with you now. So it starts off, you would summon Substitute to the field. Then you would summon a monster that can be tributed by Substitute's effect. Treat the monster you summoned in step 2 with the effect of Substitute, special summon a frog monster from your deck. And then you would keep repeating the third step, which I told you, in order to tribute special summon monsters as many as you can. And then after you've done that a number of times, you can then repeat step 4 until you release 18 frog type monsters in your graveyard. Other than, of course, the Frog the Jam in your graveyard. And you must have at least one Rowing Toadin in your graveyard. Then you'll activate the card Mass Driver, and then which will allow you to substitute Substitute and the last Frog special summoned by Substitute with this effect to reduce your opponent's life points by 800. And then you would just complete this, repeat this until your opponent was down for the dead and annihilated. So yes, this was a pretty decent deck. It can be beaten relatively easily, which is why it isn't higher in the list, but it's still a damn powerful deck. Number 9. Cliphort deck. Now these cards consist of the Cliphort monster cards, or pendulum cards as you probably are known them by. This is based around using the pendulum scale to get as many of these onto the field as possible, as well as using the Cliphort's effect to get others on the field as well. This is based around Earth Machine type monsters introduced in one of the latest expansions called the New Challengers. And like I've said, this takes full advantage of the pendulum summon mechanic. And the aim of this deck is just to get the Cliphorts onto the field and use the pendulum monsters in order to get the more powerful ones onto the field, which you can then attack your opponent with and rape their bumhole with. Number 8. Synchro Cat. Now this is an instant synchro deck which uses Rescue Cat in order to special summon tuners very quickly from your hand and deck to get out your synchro monsters exceptionally fast. Now there was a huge ways of doing this. I'm going to name one of them here. One of the ways you could do it was using either Cold Wave, Giant Trunade or Heavy Storm, then using Summon a Monk to get a monster on the field, then using using Summon a Monk to get Summon a Monk on the field to get the Rescue Cat in the field. Then you'll be able to use this effect to get X-Saber Airballium onto the field and Dark Strike Fighter, which you can then attack directly and also to do damage. So this deck unfortunately is now near enough impossible to use, as Rescue Cat was banned in the September 2010 ban list. So it is impossible to play this deck in advanced format, but it's still, back in the day, it was a damn fine deck to use. Number 7. Wind Up deck. Now this is a type of deck which focuses around wind up toy-like monsters, which were first introduced in Generation Force and then built up in Photon, Shockwave and Order of Chaos. They are of all different types of tributes, but mainly Earth, and they have 4 XZ monsters which go with the wind-ups. So the effects of wind-up monsters range from specially summoning to swarm tactics to leveling and attack manipulation. So many different ways that you can play this deck. Basically, the way that you will play this is you will get a wind-up using a huge variety of single-use monster effects, which would use to control the field, as well as having a wind-up factory on the field, which would generate a hand advantage. You can then use something along the lines of tour guides from the other world to get your XZ monsters on the field. Also, you can use cards like Wind Up Soldier in order to change monsters' levels, which makes getting those XZ monsters on the field that little bit easier. So, a really, really powerful deck, and yeah, really good one. Number 6. Necros deck. Now this is an archetype that relies on ritual summoning monsters as fast as you can. Your treasure monsters are counterparts of existing synchro monsters and feature very similar effects. The non-synchro monsters serve as conventional ritual support, fulfilling tributes and fetching key cards from your deck to maintain consistency. Primarily, the Necros ritual monsters' attack and defense stats are the same as their synchro counterparts, but they are still damn fine, as they have really, really high attack and considerable defense as well. Quite a lot of them do have the reverse. Attack is the defense of the Synchro one, and the defense is the attack of the Necros card. The effects of the cards range from being level 3 right up to way to level 6, with some of the better cards being from level 7 to level 11. Now this deck can be exceptionally powerful if used in the correct way, and if you get a bit lucky. The faster you can get those ritual summons, the faster you can own your opponent. Number 5. Judgment Prophecy deck. Now this deck focuses around spellcast attack monsters and the effects and presence of spellbook spell cards. The spellbook cards focus on creating an advantage for you, like raising a monster's attack, protecting monsters, and exit Z-summoning monsters, and manipulating the amount of cards on the field, in the hand, and the graveyard to activate effects of the spellcaster monsters. The main advantage of this deck is that it is possible to do a loop using the High Priestess of Prophecy. It can ensure your monsters gain 1000 attack every turn, making this deck damn powerful if you manage to continue this loop. Cards that you will need to use in the deck to make it a bit more powerful with the Spellbook of Power and the Spellbook of Eternity, and you must have the High Priestess of Prophecy on the field to be able to activate the loop. Yeah, this is a really powerful deck, especially you get all the spellbooks out. You can do some serious messing about with your opponent, and it is a damn powerful deck. Number 4. A spellbook deck. Now this is similar to the one that I've just described for you, but with a few subtle changes. Most of the cards in this deck will be spell cards with hardly any monsters, with of course the exceptions being Hidden Spellbook and the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, as monster cards obviously. And as such, there are numerous support cards that can go into this deck, such as Spellbook of Life, which can be hard to use but is usable in the end. There are also cards such as Spellbook of Secrets, which can be very cool in this deck. The most of the reason why this is used is because it is great at something called deck thinning, basically getting as many cards to your hand as possible and getting through your deck quite fast. This deck is also good for going alongside a spell counter deck, as you can rack up the spell counters and use them to do damage to your opponent. Number 3. Teleport Dark Arm Dragon deck. Now this is a deck which focuses around the card Emergency Teleport to quickly special summon psychic type tuner monsters from your graveyard, deck and or hand. The card which is mainly used for this effect is Krebons. The tuner monsters are then used in conjunction with cards like Destiny Hero Malicious or Element Hero Stratos in order to summon synchro monsters, while at the same time putting dark monsters into your graveyard, which allows you to get Dark Arm Dragon on the field. Dark Arm Dragon is used to clear your opponent's field and attack to win the game. If done correctly, this can occur in as many turns as 3, so you can absolutely obliterate your opponent in 3 turns, possibly using this deck. It's a badass deck, it's very powerful. And number 2, it's Legendary 6 Samurai deck. Now this has really shifted the way that 6 Samurais were played when the Legendary 6 Samurai cards were released. The addition of the Legendary 6 Samurai Cheyenne is one of the major factors in why people changed from using regular 6 Samurai to using Legendary 6 Samurai. His main ability is to negate a spell or trap card once per turn, allowing the deck to extend farther beyond just 6 Samurai to most other metagame decks without having a fear of absolutely shrekking your deck. It is very easy using this deck to summon Legendary 6 Samurai Kageki, so I've said that wrong, and the Kagamushtu of the 6 Samurai. Those two are also main cards that you want to get out. Of course, you want to use cards like Reinforcement of the Army, and of course, Gateway of the 6, which is probably one of the main cards which you would use in this deck. Back in the day, it was very powerful, but recently it has gone a bit downhill, but still a really cool deck. And number 1, Dragon Ruler deck. Now, this has to be one of the most popular and powerful decks that have ever been released for Yu-Gi-Oh! This deck based around using Dragon type effect monsters consisting of 2 groups. They are the level 7 monsters, which usually have an attack and defense combined of over 4,600. And then you have their low level counterparts, which act as miniatures of the more powerful level 7 monsters. Now the way it was usually attack is you will get the smaller monsters onto the field, and when they are in the graveyard you can banish the 2 smaller monsters to get the more powerful monsters onto the field in order to attack your opponent. So each baby Dragon Ruler can special summon one level 7 Dragon Ruler of the same attribute from the deck, then that monster can't attack the turn that it is summoned. You can only use one of the Dragon Ball effects per turn, per one, which makes it a little bit trickier to get out, but still a super powerful deck. This has won loads of tournaments and probably does still stand as one of the most powerful decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. Okay, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to punch the like button, leave a comment down below, or subscribe if you're new to the channel. Also, most comment on Twitter, link down below, as always. So that's for the safe. Thank you so much for watching. I've been XStarKillerX, and I will see you all in the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Video.
To make you see, it's more than just words I need.